The stars looked different today. Captain stood on the bridge of the Horizon's Promise, watching them with growing concern. His ship had been exploring the outer edges of known space for 3 months. Everything had been normal until an hour ago. Now, 47 alien vessels surrounded his ship. "Captain, they're hailing us again," said Dr. One Park, her fingers moving across her console. She was the best Earth had, brought along specifically for moments like this. First contact with alien life, except this didn't feel like a friendly meeting. "Put them through," said. He straightened his uniform and faced The alien that appeared was tall and thin, with smooth gray skin and large black eyes. It wore robes that shimmered with colors had never seen before. When it spoke, a translator converted its sounds into Korean. "I am ambassador of the Galactic Coalition. Your vessel will power down its weapons and prepare to be boarded." Kept his face calm. "This is captain of the Earthship Horizon's Promise. We're on a peaceful exploration mission. We mean no harm to anyone." "We know what you are," said. "We have been watching your species for 50 of your years. You are violent, aggressive, dangerous. You still wage wars on your home planet. You have weapons that can destroy entire cities. You cannot be trusted to travel among civilized species." One looked at with wide eyes. 50 years. They had been watching Earth for 50 years and never made contact. "We're not perfect," admitted. "But we're learning, we're growing. Isn't that worth something?" "The Galactic Coalition has 47 member species," continued, ignoring his question. "We have maintained peace for 6,000 years. We will not allow a primitive, warlike race to threaten that peace." The word primitive stung. Humanity had reached the stars. They had cured diseases, built cities, created art and music. They weren't primitive. "What do you want from us?" asked. "You will return to your home system. You will dismantle all spacecraft capable of faster-than-light travel. You will remain in your solar system. If you attempt to leave, you will be destroyed. You have 30 of your days to comply." The screen went dark. The bridge was silent for a long moment. Then everyone started talking at once, raised his hand for quiet. "Get me a secure channel to Earth," he ordered. "Priority 1. 3 hours later they received a response. The message was brief. "Return home immediately. Emergency Council meeting in progress." The journey back to Earth took 2 weeks. Spent most of that time reading reports that one had compiled. The Coalition wasn't just 47 species. It was 47 civilizations, each spanning dozens of worlds. Together, they controlled thousands of planets across the galaxy. Earth had 23 colonies on nearby stars. They had maybe 300 military ships total. The math wasn't good. When they arrived at Earth, Ambassador Yang was waiting for them. He was an old man, 70 years old, with gray hair and sharp eyes. He had been Earth's lead diplomat for 2 decades. "Captain Dr. Park, welcome home," he said. "We have much to discuss." They met in the United Council chambers, a massive building in Geneva that housed representatives from every nation on Earth. The chamber was full. Every seat was taken. People stood along the walls. This was the most important decision humanity had ever faced. Yang stood at the podium and explained the situation to everyone. The Coalition's ultimatum, the 30-day deadline, the threat of destruction if they didn't comply. "Some of you will say we should accept these terms," Yang said. "That we should give up space travel and stay in our solar system. That we should live under the Coalition's thumb because we're not strong enough to resist." He paused, looking around the room. "Others will say we should fight, that we should refuse to be caged like animals. That freedom is worth dying for." Watch the faces in the crowd: fear, anger, confusion, determination. "I have spent my entire career trying to prevent war," Yang continued. "I believe in peace. I believe in diplomacy. But I also believe in dignity. I believe in the right of every species to determine their own future." He pressed a button and images appeared on the screens around the room. Images that made blood run cold. Ships, weapons, bases, all hidden in the outer solar system. The Coalition thinks they know everything about us, Yang said. They watched us for 50 years. They think we're primitive, violent, predictable. They're wrong. More images appeared. Construction facilities on Mars, research stations in the asteroid belt, shipyards near Jupiter, all hidden from Coalition sensors. We knew we weren't alone, Yang said. We've known for 30 years. We've been preparing. Not because we wanted war, but because we refused to be helpless. One grabbed his arm. They knew, she whispered. Yang smiled grimly. Admiral Lee will explain our defensive capabilities, but first we must vote. Do we comply with the Coalition's demands, or do we stand and fight? The debate lasted for hours. People argued passionately on both sides. Some said humanity wasn't ready for war with an advanced alien civilization. Others said surrendering their freedom was worse than death. Finally, the vote was called. The room fell silent as the numbers appeared on the screen. Compliance, 31 votes. Defiance, 169 votes. Yang nodded slowly. Then we are decided, send our response to the Coalition. Was chosen to deliver the message. He stood before the camera, knowing that this broadcast would reach every Coalition world. This is Captain of Earth, he said. We have received your ultimatum. We have considered your demands. Our answer is no. He paused, letting the weight of that word sink in. We will not surrender our freedom. We will not abandon the stars. We will not bow to threats. If you want to cage humanity, you'll have to fight us for it. The message was sent across all Coalition channels. Humanity had made its choice. Now they would face the consequences. Admiral Lee watched Earth's message broadcast across the galaxy. His face remained calm, but inside his heart pounded. There was no going back now. The Coalition would respond with force, and humanity had to be ready. He stood in the war room deep beneath Geneva. Around him, holographic displays showed Earth's defenses, fleet positions, and Coalition movements. The room buzzed with activity as officers relayed information and updated battle plans. Admiral, we're detecting movement in Coalition space, said Commander Park Min-ho. Their fleets are mobilizing. How long do we have? Asked. Best estimate, 72 hours before their first strike force arrives. 3 days. 3 days to prepare for a war that would decide humanity's future. Get me Engineer Shin and Scientist, ordered. It's time to show everyone what we've built. An hour later, Bora, Shin, and Jinwoo arrived at the war room. Bora was young, only 32, but she was the engineer Earth had ever produced. Jinwoo was older, a quantum physicist who had spent the last decade working on classified projects. Show them, said simply. Bora stepped forward and activated a new holographic display. It showed the solar system, but with additions that made several officers gasp. Hundreds of installations appeared, scattered throughout space. Asteroid bases, hidden satellites, weapon platforms disguised as space debris. Ladies and meet Project Prometheus, Bora said. For the last 15 years, we've been building a defensive network unlike anything the galaxy has seen. She zoomed in on one installation. It looked like a simple mining station, but the internal schematic showed something else entirely. A massive gravity generator surrounded by weapons systems. Each station can create localized singularities, Bora explained. Artificial black holes, small and controlled. We can use them to disrupt enemy formations, destroy ships, or create defensive barriers. An older general raised his hand. Black holes, that sounds extremely dangerous. Jinwoo stepped forward. It is, but we've solved the stability problem. Each singularity lasts for exactly 30 seconds before it collapses harmlessly. During that time, anything caught in its pull is destroyed. How many of these stations do we have? Someone asked. 347, Bora said. Enough to cover every approach to Earth in our colonies. Watched the faces around him change from worry to hope, but he knew the stations alone wouldn't be enough. There's more, Jinwoo said. We've discovered something about the coalition species, something that gives us an advantage. He pulled up biological data on the 47 coalition species. Charts, graphs, evolutionary histories. Every single coalition species evolved on peaceful worlds, Jinwoo explained. Worlds with minimal predators, stable climates, abundant resources. They never had to fight for survival the way we did. What does that mean? Asked Commander Park. It means they don't think like us, Jinwoo said. Their military tactics are based on mathematical optimization, predictable patterns, logical decision trees. They've never faced an enemy that uses chaos, improvisation, and irrational strategies. Bora smiled. In other words, they've never fought humans. The mood in the room shifted. People started to understand. Humanity wasn't just defending their freedom. They were defending it against an enemy that had never known true war. What about their technology? Someone asked. They're still more advanced than us. In some ways, yes, Bora admitted. Their ships are faster, their shields are stronger, but technology isn't everything. A sword is useless if you don't know how to fight. Over the next 2 days, Earth prepared. Ships were armed. Soldiers were briefed. Civilians were evacuated from the outer colonies to safer locations. The entire planet moved with single-minded purpose. Returned to active duty, commanding a task force of 30 ships. One stayed on Earth, analyzing coalition communications and looking for weaknesses. Yang worked with other ambassadors, trying to find allies among the coalition species who might oppose the war. On the 3rd day, the coalition arrived. Was in space when the first enemy ships appeared. His sensors lit up with contacts. 10, 20, 50, 100. The numbers kept climbing. Captain, I'm reading over 10,000 coalition vessels, his tactical officer said, voice shaking. 10,000 ships, against Earth's fleet of 300. All ships, this is Captain, transmitted. Hold your positions, wait for my command. The coalition fleet arranged itself in perfect formation. Thousands of ships in neat rows and columns like a parade. They were showing off their strength. Then they attacked. The first wave hit Earth's outer defenses. Laser fire filled space. Missiles streaked between ships. The battle was chaos. But something strange happened. The coalition ships couldn't adapt to human tactics. When Earth ships broke formation and attacked from unexpected angles, the coalition AI targeting systems struggled to respond. When humans used debris fields for cover, coalition sensors lost track of them. They fight like machines, realized. Activate Prometheus. All stations fire at will. Space itself seemed to tear open. The hidden stations activated their gravity generators. Singularities appeared throughout the battlefield, invisible until something got too close. Coalition ships that strayed from their formations were caught and crushed. The perfect formations broke apart. Coalition commanders tried to reorganize, but human ships harassed them constantly. Small, fast attack craft darted in and out, targeting command vessels and communication arrays. On Earth, watched the battle unfold. It wasn't a victory. The coalition still had overwhelming numbers, but it wasn't the quick defeat the coalition expected either. Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from the coalition flagship, an officer said. Nodded, put it through. Ambassador appeared on the screen. His smooth face was no longer calm. He looked angry, confused. You are fighting dirty, he said. This is not honorable combat. Almost laughed. There's no honor in threatening to destroy a species. You wanted war, now you have it. Don't complain about how we fight. You cannot win, said. We have 47 civilizations. thousands of worlds, millions of ships. Maybe, agreed. But we only need to hurt you badly enough that you regret starting this fight. He cut the transmission. The battle continued for 6 more hours. The coalition pushed forward, taking heavy losses. Earth's defenses held, but barely. When the coalition finally retreated to regroup, both sides had been bloodied. Looked at the casualty reports. 43 Earth ships destroyed. Over 2,000 coalition vessels damaged or destroyed. They expected an easy victory, Boras said, standing beside him. They got a war instead. This is just the beginning, said. They'll come back with more ships, better strategies. Then we'll adapt, Jinwoo said. That's what humans do. Nodded. The first battle was over, but the war had just begun. And humanity had sent a clear message. They would not go quietly into the night. Lieutenant Haesong gripped the controls of her fighter as enemy ships filled her. She was leading Ghost Squadron, 12 of Earth's best pilots, against impossible odds. Ghost Leader, you have 200 contacts heading your way, Control said in her ear. Copy that, Hay replied calmly. Just 200, I was hopping for a challenge. Her squadron laughed nervously. Humor helped calm the fear. Hay had learned that in her 5 years as a pilot. The coalition's second wave had arrived 3 days after the first battle. This time they brought 30,000 ships. Earth's remaining fleet numbered less than 200. All fighters break formation, Hay ordered. Random attack pattern Delta, confuse their targeting. Her squadron scattered in all directions, moving unpredictably. The coalition fighters tried to follow, but their movements were stiff, calculated. They couldn't match the wild, instinctive flying of human pilots. Hay dove under a coalition cruiser, skimming so close to its hull that alarms screamed in her cockpit. She fired her weapons at point-blank range, targeting the ship's engine ports. The cruiser's shields couldn't adjust fast enough. Explosions rippled across its surface. Ghost 2 on my wing, she called. We're going through their formation, not around it. Are you crazy? Ghost 2 replied, but he followed her anyway. They flew straight into the enemy fleet, weaving between massive warships. Coalition point defense systems tried to track them, but kept hitting their own ships instead. The tight formation that looked so impressive became a weakness. Meanwhile, on Earth, Doctor was making a discovery that would change everything. She worked in a secure laboratory beneath Seoul, studying captured coalition soldiers. The coalition had sent boarding parties to several Earth stations. Most were killed or captured. Now had 3 live specimens to examine. The aliens sat in containment cells, their large eyes watching her with fear. Felt sorry for them, but she had a job to do. Subject 1, can you understand me? She asked through the translator. The alien nodded slowly. It looked like a tall, thin human with blue-gray skin and 4 fingers on each hand. Why do you fight us? Asked. Because you are dangerous, the alien said. Its voice was soft, almost musical. You are violent, you kill your own kind, you have weapons that can destroy planets. So do you, pointed out. I've seen your ships, your weapons. We have them for defense, the alien said. We never use them. The last war in coalition space was 4,000 years ago. It lasted 3 days and killed 5,000 beings. It was the worst tragedy in our history. Stop typing. 5,000 dead in 3 days, that's your worst war. The alien nodded, confused by her reaction. Pulled up human history on her. Humans had a war 70 years ago that killed 50 million people. We've had dozens of wars that killed millions, hundreds that killed thousands. We have wars over religion, resources, territory, and sometimes just because we hate each other. The alien stared at her in horror. How do you survive? How does your species still exist? Because we're good at killing, said quietly, and good at surviving. She ran more tests, examining the alien's biology, psychology, and evolutionary history. Every coalition species showed the same pattern. They evolved on peaceful worlds. Worlds where food was abundant, predators were rare, and survival didn't require constant struggle. Earth was different. Earth was a nightmare world compared to coalition planets. Predators everywhere. Diseases that killed millions. Ice ages and volcanic eruptions and asteroid impacts. Humans evolved to survive the worst that nature could throw at them. And then they spent thousands of years fighting each other, getting better and better at war. Sent her report to Admiral Lee with a simple conclusion. The coalition fears us because they should. We're not just different, we're evolved killers. On the border outpost Delta 7, Corporal Sangmin O was learning the same lesson the hard way. The coalition had bypassed Earth's main defenses and attacked the outer colonies. Delta 7 was a mining station on an ice moon, home to 500 civilians and 30 soldiers. Now it was under siege. "Contact front," shouted Private Yi Jin. 20 coalition soldiers heading for Section C. Sangmin checked his rifle and moved his squad into position. They'd been fighting for 6 hours. The coalition had superior numbers and better weapons, but they fought like they were following an instruction manual. The aliens entered Section C in a perfect line, weapons raised, scanning methodically. They were textbook perfect, which made them predictable. Sangmin waited until they were in the middle of the room. Then he triggered the trap. The floor dropped out from under the coalition soldiers. They fell 10 meters into a sealed chamber. Sangmin's squad appeared at the edges, weapons aimed down. "Surrender," Sangmin ordered. The aliens looked up at him. Their faces showed confusion more than fear. One of them spoke through a translator. "That was not a proper military tactic. You used deception." "Yes," Sangmin said. "It's called an ambush. We do it a lot. But the tactical database says you would defend this position directly. It was calculated." Sangmin smiled grimly. "Tell your database that humans don't follow calculations." The battle for Delta 7 continued for another 4 hours. The coalition had overwhelming force, but they couldn't adapt to human tactics. When humans ran, the aliens advanced carefully. When humans attacked, the aliens responded defensively. They always did what their training said was optimal. But humans didn't fight optimally, they fought to win. Finally, relief forces arrived. Earth ships dropped in system and scattered the coalition fleet. Sangmin and his squad had held out just long enough. Back in space, Hay's squadron had survived their impossible mission. Of 12 fighters that went out, 9 came back, but they destroyed or damaged over 40 coalition ships. "Ghost Leader, how did you do it?" Control asked. "They're predictable," Hay said. "They think we'll run, so we attack. They think we'll defend, so we flank. They've forgotten how to fight an enemy that doesn't follow their rules." That night, Admiral Lee gathered all the data. Biological analysis, combat reports from Hay and Sangmin's psychological profiles of coalition prisoners. It all pointed to the same conclusion. The coalition had been at peace for so long that they'd forgotten what war really meant. They had weapons and ships and technology, but they'd lost the instinct for survival that humans still carried. "We're not winning because we're stronger," Lee told his staff. "We're winning because we're meaner. They're fighting a war, we're fighting for survival, and there's a big difference." Bora stood up. "Then we need to make them understand that difference. We need to take the fight to them." Lee nodded slowly. "You're right, we've been defending, it's time to attack." Plans were made, ships were prepared. Project Prometheus had more surprises ready. The coalition thought they were fighting a primitive species. They were about to learn just how wrong they were. General Nuss stood on the bridge of the battleship Retribution, watching the coalition fortress world grow larger on the. This was humanity's first offensive operation, and she was leading it personally. "General, all strike teams are ready," reported Commander Lee Sung. "We can begin the assault on your order." Nuss took a deep breath. What she was about to do would change the war, maybe change the entire galaxy. "Begin Operation Reaper," she said. 40 Earthships emerged from faster-than-light travel in high orbit around Vex Prime, a coalition military stronghold. The coalition had never expected humans to attack one of their core worlds. They'd never imagined humans were capable of it. They were wrong. The battle began with a fury that shocked the coalition defenders. Human ships didn't hang back and trade fire at a distance. They dove straight into the enemy fleet, weapons blazing, accepting damage to get close enough to hurt the enemy. 3 human ships rammed coalition vessels, their captains evacuating the crew at the last second while guiding their ships into enemy targets. It was wasteful, crazy, and completely effective. Coalition commanders couldn't understand why anyone would destroy their own ship just to damage the enemy. While the space battle raged, Captain led a different mission. He'd escaped coalition captivity 3 weeks ago, stealing a small ship and running for human space. The intelligence he brought back was worth more than a fleet of warships. Now he sat in a briefing room with Admiral Lee and Ambassador Yang, sharing what he'd learned. "The coalition has 47 member species," explained. "But they're not united. Not really. Some species think we should be exterminated. Others want to negotiate. The Supreme Council is barely holding together." "Can we exploit that?" Admiral Lee asked. "Already working on it," said tech specialist Wu Jin Han, who sat at a computer terminal. "I've been inside their communication network for 2 weeks now." Wu Jin was Earth's best hacker, a 30-year-old genius who could break into any system. He'd spent the entire war infiltrating coalition networks, spreading confusion and fear. "Show them," said. Wu Jin pulled up a series of messages he'd planted in coalition channels. Fake intelligence reports claiming certain species were planning betrayal. False casualty numbers that made the war look worse than it was. Propaganda videos showing human victories and coalition defeats. "Information warfare," Wu Jin said with a grin. "They're so used to trusting their networks that they don't know what's real anymore." Admiral Lee smiled. "Good work, keep it up." Back at Vex Prime, General Nu's forces had broken through the orbital defenses. Now came the hard part, taking the fortress itself. "All boarding teams launch," Nu ordered. Small assault craft detached from the human ships and screamed toward the fortress. Coalition defenses shot down half of them, but the rest got through. Marines in powered armor cut through the hull and poured inside. What followed was the kind of fighting humans excelled at and coalition forces feared: close combat, hand-to-hand, room-to-room clearing, the chaos of battle where technology mattered less than aggression and training. Corporal Sangmin Oh was part of the first wave. He and his squad moved through the fortress corridors, encountering light resistance. The coalition soldiers they met often froze when humans charged them, screaming and firing. It wasn't courage the aliens lacked. It was experience with this kind of raw, visceral combat. "They're retreating to the command center," Sangmin reported, requesting permission to pursue. "Granted," came Nu's response. "Take it." The battle for the command center lasted 3 hours. Coalition forces fought harder here defending their commanders, but they still fought by the rules. They set up proper defensive positions. They used suppressing fire. They followed doctrine. Sangmin's squad did none of those things. They used grenades in enclosed spaces, even though it was dangerous to them too. They charged through fire when they should have taken cover. They used captured coalition weapons because they had better shields than human guns. By the time the command center fell, Sangmin's squad had taken 70% casualties, but they'd won. "Fortress is ours," Nu announced to the fleet. "Signal Earth. Tell them we've taken Vex Prime." The news spread like fire through both human and coalition space. Humans had captured a coalition fortress world. It seemed impossible, but it was true. Across the galaxy, coalition species began to panic. If humans could take Vex Prime, what else could they do? How many more worlds would fall? Ambassador Yang reached out to some coalition species privately, offering them a choice: keep supporting the war or make peace with Earth. Some species, tired of the fighting and losses, started to listen. The Coalition's Supreme Council held an emergency meeting, argued for total war, complete extermination of humanity, but other ambassadors disagreed. The cost was too high. Humans were too dangerous. The council was fracturing. Meanwhile, Wu Jin continued his information warfare campaign. He released documents showing that the coalition leadership had known about humanity for 50 years, but hid it from their own people. He leaked casualty numbers that made the war look like a disaster. He spread rumors that certain coalition species were planning to switch sides. And all of it was true, or close enough to true that people believed it. On Vex Prime, General Nuh set up a command post in the captured fortress. She broadcast a message across all coalition channels. "This is General of the Human Defense Forces," she said. "We hold Vex Prime. We didn't want this war, but you forced it on us. Now you're learning the price of threatening humanity." She paused, letting her words sink in. "We're not monsters. We don't want to destroy the coalition, but we will not be caged. We will not surrender our freedom. If you continue this war, we will take more worlds. We will dismantle your civilization piece by piece, or you can stop fighting and talk to us like equals." The message ended. Across coalition space, debates erupted. Some species called for revenge, others called for peace. The unity that had held the coalition together for thousands of years was cracking. Back on Earth, Admiral Lee prepared the final phase of their plan. Project Prometheus had one more surprise, something they'd kept secret even from most of humanity. "Show them," Lee said to Bora. Bora activated a holographic display showing deep space, far from any star. Hundreds of contacts appeared. Ships, automated warships that had been hiding in the dark, building themselves, waiting. "Self-replicating AI warships," Bora explained. "We've been building them in secret for 20 years. They use raw materials from asteroids and comets to make copies of themselves. We started with 10 ships. Now we have over 4,000. Admiral Lee looked at the display with mixed feelings. These ships were powerful but dangerous. AI weapons that could think, fight, and reproduce on their own. Humanity had built them as a last resort, a weapon to use if they ever faced extinction. "Activate them," Lee ordered, "but keep them in reserve. Only use them if the coalition refuses to surrender." The message was sent. Deep in space, thousands of warships came to life, ready to defend humanity or destroy anyone who threatened them. The coalition had forced humanity to reveal their true strength. Now they would face the consequences of that mistake. Chancellor Jin stood in the command center of Vex Prime, preparing to deliver the most important speech in human history. Around her, soldiers and technicians worked quietly, setting up communication equipment that would broadcast her message to every coalition world. She was 58 years old, Earth's elected leader for the past 6 years. She'd spent her entire career working for peace, trying to unite humanity and build a better future. Now, she was about to threaten 47 alien civilizations with destruction. "Chancellor, we're ready," said the communications officer. Jin nodded. She took a deep breath and faced the camera. "People of the Galactic Coalition, my name is Jin, Chancellor of Earth and all human territories. I speak to you today from Vex Prime, a fortress world that your military swore could never fall. It fell in 6 hours. She paused, letting that sink in. "You came to us with demands. You told us to abandon the stars, to cage ourselves in our home system, to live under your control. You threatened to destroy us if we refused. We refused. And now you know the price of threatening humanity." Behind her, holographic displays showed the current state of the war. Human forces controlled Vex Prime and 3 other coalition worlds. Coalition fleets had lost over 40% of their ships. Several coalition species were openly calling for peace. But here's what you don't know, Jin continued. The truth that we've kept hidden from you. You didn't discover us, we discovered you, 30 years ago. On coalition worlds, beings stopped what they were doing to watch. This didn't make sense. The coalition found Earth. They'd been watching humanity for 50 years. We detected your ships in our space 30 years ago, Jin explained. Small scout vessels observing Earth from a distance. We could have destroyed them. We could have attacked you. Instead, we watched. We learned. We prepared. A holographic display showed a timeline. Coalition scout ships visiting Earth's solar system. Human ships secretly following them back to coalition space. Human scientists studying coalition technology and tactics. We knew everything about you before you ever spoke to us, Jin said. Your 47 species, your thousands of worlds, your history of peace and your lack of experience with war. We knew you would eventually contact us, and we knew you would see us as a threat. On Earth, Admiral Lee watched the broadcast with the other military leaders. This was the moment they'd planned for, the revelation that would change everything. So we prepared, Jin said, not because we wanted war, but because we refused to be helpless. We built defenses. We developed weapons. We created Project Prometheus. The holographic displays changed, showing the full extent of Project Prometheus for the first time. Gravity weapons hidden throughout space, automated warships in the darkness between stars, defense networks protecting every human world. And we built something else, Jin said, something we hoped we'd never have to use. A new display appeared, showing deep space. Thousands of contacts, each one a warship, self-replicating machines that had been hiding and building for 20 years. 4,000 autonomous warships, Jin said quietly, each one capable of building copies of itself, each one programmed with one directive: protect humanity at all costs. They're powered by fusion reactors that can run for centuries. They carry weapons that can crack planets, and they're controlled by an AI that makes decisions faster than any living being. She paused, looking directly into the camera. If we activate them, if we give them the order to attack, they won't stop until the coalition is destroyed. Every world, every ship, every trace of your civilizations. They'll hunt you across the galaxy for as long as it takes. On coalition worlds, panic spread. An unstoppable fleet of AI warships. It sounded like something from a nightmare. Ambassador watched the broadcast from his ship, his smooth face pale with fear. This was worse than he'd imagined. Humanity hadn't just refused to be conquered. They'd been planning to conquer the coalition all along. But we don't want that, Jin said, her voice softening. We never wanted to destroy you. We just wanted to be left alone. You forced this war on us, but we can end it today. She pulled up a document and displayed it for all to see. These are our terms. The coalition will immediately cease all military operations against humanity. You will recognize Earth and all human territories as sovereign and independent. You will disband your combined military forces and create a new defense organization led by human commanders. You will grant humanity full membership in the coalition with veto power over all major decisions. The terms were harsh. They would fundamentally change the balance of power in the galaxy, but they were better than the alternative. In exchange, Jin continued, we will share our technology with you, our weapons, our defenses, our AI systems. We will protect coalition space from external threats. We will maintain the peace that you've enjoyed for thousands of years, but we will do it our way, not yours. She leaned forward. You have 1 week to respond. If the Coalition Council accepts these terms, we have peace. If you refuse, we activate our autonomous fleet and wage total war until the Coalition no longer exists. The choice is yours." The broadcast ended. On Vex Prime, the command center was silent. Jin sat down, exhausted. General Na approached her. "That was quite a speech," Na said. "I hope it works," Jin replied. "Because if it doesn't, we'll have to actually use those AI warships, and that scares me more than anything the Coalition could do." Across Coalition space, emergency meetings were called. The Supreme Council gathered on the Coalition capital world of. All 47 ambassadors attended. The debate was fierce, argued passionately for continued war. "We cannot surrender to these primitives. We are the Coalition. We have ruled the galaxy for 6,000 years." But other voices disagreed. Ambassador of the People spoke quietly. "We've lost 12,000 ships, 3 worlds. Millions of our people are dead or wounded, and the humans haven't even used their full strength yet. How many more must die before we admit we made a mistake?" More ambassadors spoke, some angry, some fearful, some simply tired of the fighting. The war had revealed cracks in the Coalition that had been hidden for centuries. Not all species agreed on everything. Not all wanted to fight for pride. Finally, the vote was called. Accept Earth's terms, 46 votes. Reject and continue the war, 1 vote. Sat alone, the only dissenter. He'd lost. "The Council has spoken," announced the Council leader, an ancient being from a species humanity had never seen before. "We accept Earth's terms. The war is over." Stood up, his face twisted with rage. "You're all cowards. You're surrendering our entire civilization to a species that still fights among themselves." "No," the Council leader said. "We're admitting that we made a terrible mistake. We threatened a species we didn't understand. We paid the price for our arrogance. Now we must live with the consequences." Refused to accept defeat. 3 days later, his species launched a final attack on human space. 100 ships, moving fast, targeting Earth's colonies. General Na's forces intercepted them before they reached their targets. The battle lasted 3 hours. When it was over, every ship in its fleet was destroyed. "Any survivors?" Na asked. "None, General. They fought to the last ship." Na felt no satisfaction, just sadness that its people had thrown their lives away for nothing. The rest of the Coalition formally surrendered 1 week later. The treaty was signed on Earth, with representatives from all 47 Coalition species present. Humanity officially joined the Coalition as its and most powerful member. 10 years later, Captain stood on the bridge of a new ship, the Eternal Vigilance, watching a newly discovered alien species on his. They were just developing space travel, primitive by Coalition standards, aggressive by nature. In the old days, the Coalition might have tried to control them or suppress them. Not anymore. "Open a channel," ordered. A leader appeared on screen, looking confused and frightened. "Greetings," said. "I am captain of the Galactic Coalition Defense Forces. We come in peace. We've been watching your species develop, and we wanted to introduce ourselves properly." The leader relaxed slightly. "You've been watching us for how long?" "5 of your years," admitted. "We wanted to understand your culture before making contact. We've learned from past mistakes." "What do you want from us?" they asked warily. Smiled. "Nothing. We want to welcome you to the galaxy, share knowledge, offer friendship, but make no mistake about one thing." His smile faded. "The Coalition is protected. By humans. By our weapons. By our willingness to do whatever is necessary to defend our people. If you come in peace, you'll find friends. If you come as enemies, you'll find something much worse." The leader studied for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "We understand. We choose friendship." "Good," said. "Welcome to the galaxy." Later in his quarters, thought about how much had changed. Humanity had never wanted to rule the galaxy. They just wanted to be free. But the Coalition forced them to fight, and in fighting, humanity had become the galaxy's guardians. It was a heavy responsibility. But someone had to do it, and humans, shaped by millions of years of survival on a brutal world, were uniquely qualified for the job. Earth's final message had been clear: you have sealed your fate. The Coalition learned too late what that meant. They tried to cage humanity and created a protector instead. A species strong enough to defend the galaxy, wise enough to do it with mercy, and ruthless enough to do whatever was necessary when mercy failed. The galaxy would never be the same.